Good morning, beautiful ladies of your fertility haven. Welcome to day 7, the final day of the Fertile Mind Summit. And what a way to kick off the very last day. I am joined here by the gorgeous and the glowing Michelle Hillier. So just a little bit about Michelle. Michelle is an integrative fertility and breakthrough coach. She is a trainer and master practitioner of, I'm going to get this right, this is a tongue twister, neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy. I hope I got that right. She's also a yoga instructor and the author of the book Inspired Magic, Your Guide to Transforming Your Life with the Power of the Mind. Now, I'm going to say it now, we are giving away 5 free copies of this book and also a free 30-minute mindset session with Michelle. All you have to do, same drill as all of the other times, is just make a comment on any of the videos. The more you comment, the more entries you get into all of the amazing prizes, and that is just one of them. So, hi Michelle, how are you?
I'm amazing. I'm so happy to be here. I just jumped on with Jennifer. I'm like, you look gorgeous at 7 a.m. It's 1 p.m. in California, and it took a lot just to get sitting here.
Well, you have
So
a very good excuse.
yeah, so props to you.
So let's kick off. I would love, and I know your story, we've had a chat before this, but I would love for you to share your amazing story and how you got to be where you are today.
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me here. And I've loved watching the women over the past 6 days, and I've loved seeing the comments. So anybody, if there's any questions on this and you want more information, please do comment on this. When I think about fertility journey, I really think about going way back to the first time I really started thinking about having kids. And that's really, when I was in my early 20s, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to have babies by the time I'm 26 and it's going to be easy and all these different things. And as my life kind of kept going as a single woman in San Francisco for a long time, it really started to dawn on me that our bodies, are forever changing. When I was 34, and my OBGYN told me, you're never going to have kids if you don't freeze your eggs. And it really just, it triggered me. I was single. I was newly dumped. I don't know if anybody's ever been there. And I thought at 34, what in the world am I going to do? And so 2 things happened. First, I dumped my OBGYN because that's not a way you talk to a patient at all. And then 2, I said, okay, it's time for me to figure out, what does it mean to have a baby in your mid 30s, late 30s, or early 40s, depending on when I met my Mr. Wonderful? And also, what is this, what could these possibly look like for me? And just like a lot of the women I've been seeing over this past week, it didn't go down this beautiful straight line of met my husband, we tried to have a baby, had the baby, it was all really easy. In fact, it was quite windy. Like a lot of people, I didn't have a period for years. My thyroid shut down, all the things that can happen. And I don't want to suggest this to anybody here. This may not be your story, but this was my experience. And so after years of healing my body, and we can get into that later if you want to, I got pregnant at the age of 39 with my first child. I'm actually due in about a week. So if you hear me huffing and puffing, that's why I'm 40 now. So that's really how my journey and kind of getting into this space happened. I wanted to know more because I was so disheartened by what I was hearing out there. And I was so disheartened by the fact that I wasn't ovulating. I wasn't getting my period. My thyroid had shut down, things that can happen. So
Yeah. And
that's kind
so
of the
what did, and sorry, there's so many things in there. So number one, I want to point out is that picture that we have in our head, that plan. You think that we would have learnt by now to stop doing it, but and I have learned now from just being aware of the fact that things just don't go according to plan and trying to release it. You can have a bit of a plan, but be flexible. So is that what you had to do? You had to go down that, well, I just need to be flexible now. And is that what you use now to this day?
Yeah, a lot of it is, I used to think that as kind of I hate to use this term, but kind of a control freak Capricorn,
Yeah.
that my plan makes sense. And if I follow the plan, if like a recipe, I'm going to make this perfect souffle, versus if I have ingredients that are similar to what I want, I may make something even better than what I thought was possible. And so a lot of my mindset had to shift away from I am the controller of my destiny versus this is what I would like to have loosely kind of put out there. And what are the ways in which I can help myself, mind, body, and spirit to work toward it, but really letting go of a lot of the different elements of how I
Mhm.
got there. But that
Yeah.
took years of working with, my mindset and my body,
Okay.
doesn't
Yeah.
happen overnight.
No, absolutely not. And it's something that, a lot of us on this journey just so happen to be that type of personality. But I think it's important to note that we can actually change our behavior. It doesn't have to be, and I think a lot of the times, I used to just fall on the fact of, oh, well, it's just my personality. That's just the way I am. So I can't change. But we absolutely can change. You're a testament. I'm a testament. So
You can
now,
change. And I just wanted to add one thing is just the fact that we're so wrong in the fact, and I was so wrong in thinking, okay, well, if you're healthy, you get pregnant the very first time you try. Versus if you look at just statistically speaking, a perfectly healthy 30-year-old woman could take a year to get pregnant, and there is nothing wrong with that. That is not infertility necessarily. That does not mean that there's something not happening. It's just the way that your body is working to get
mhm.
you whatever result it's going to be the best, healthiest, hopeful, option.
And I think that we're under that misguided representation as well, because people just don't talk about the struggles. So
No.
you'll see someone that's fallen pregnant and you're like, oh, well, they just fell pregnant, but you don't know the silent struggles that they went under as well. So I think we need to be, cognizant of the fact that there may be other things, and everyone else's story may not be so perfect either.
Right.
So I want to talk about mindset because that is your specialty. So you are a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. So can you just explain a little bit about that and the outcomes that you can glean
Sure.
from that?
So NLP, neuro linguistic programming, just to break it down, neuro being the brain, the way that we use our brain, linguistics are the words that we use either in our mind or to other people, and programming are the set of patterns and behaviors that we run in our life. So NLP is essentially the study of how do you get what you want using your mind. And that's why my book is, your guide to transforming your life with the power of the mind.
Mhm.
The mind body connection, and there were some beautiful examples earlier this week of what the mind body connection is. It is so, so powerful, but I want to take it one step previous to the mind body connection to our belief system. Like when it comes to beliefs, our beliefs are just long held thoughts that we think are true. In our mind, if I have a belief, I believe it to be true. These beliefs then turn into the thoughts that we have. These thoughts turn into the words that we use internally and externally. And then the words that we use turn into our actions. But so often, especially on, your fertility journey, we just think about the actions. We think
Mhm.
about, did I take my prenatal? Am I ovulating? Did I do enough exercise? Am I eating the right foods? Did I take my Clomid? All of the things that we focus on are really action based, but they start so much with our belief system and our thoughts.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, everything for me just starts in the mind. And so
Yeah.
when I work with clients, it's really trying to discover what are the beliefs that can be holding them back and what are the beliefs that we can amp up to empower them to keep going if maybe things aren't working well, or maybe things are working well and we want to even amplify those. So
Mhm.
it's a lot to discuss in like a very short period of time.
Well, we
You
can
know,
pick bits and pieces. So what do you
yeah.
say to the lady who, I mean, we can have affirmations, and we can say stuff over and 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 in our head, and then we still don't get the outcome. So what do you say to the woman who's kind of like, well, I'm saying it over in my head, but it's still not happening? Like I want to win lotto, but it doesn't happen.
Uh,
Like what do you say to that?
There is a chapter in my book that talks about where the power, or what is it, where the law of attraction falls short.
Mm-hmm.
And we've come to this belief that it started with Rhonda Byrne in Australia when she was like, The Secret. If you believe it, it will happen. But
Yeah.
one of the biggest things that she really leaves out is a lot of times our affirmations are so contradictory to our current life that our subconscious is actually running an even stronger dialogue with your body. So an example would be if I were, $500,000 in debt, and I say, okay, well, if I win the lottery, great, I can win the lottery and win it. And then I say, I'm a millionaire. I've won the lotto. I have all the money in the world. But my body inside is saying, BS.
Yes.
But my subconscious is like, show me the money because you're eating top ramen. So it doesn't matter how many affirmations we have. If our subconscious is running an even stronger program, we're going backwards and we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And so one of the powerful tools you can use with your mind is to say things that inch you towards what you want, but don't trigger that BS factor. So for instance, I've had money show up, and just to use money because it's really easy to use. I've had money show up on days where I didn't expect any, you know? I know a lot of people who have gone from where they didn't want to be to where they do want to be. I'm no different than these people. I can wake up and learn something new today. Things that don't necessarily scream, I'm a millionaire, I'm all of a sudden perfect, but they do inch you away from what you don't want towards what you do want in a way that doesn't feel contradictory to any program that's underlying. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
It makes absolute sense. And yes, it is the underlying thing, because we can be, as you said, we can be saying something on the outside, but really deep inside, we don't actually believe it. So we need to be fully committed to what we're actually saying. Yes, I love that.
And
Can
if it's,
you,
yeah, go
you
ahead.
go, you go.
I was just saying, if it's too triggering to talk about fertility specifically, you can talk about health as a generality or something that has nothing to do with your health, choosing an area of your life that is going really well, because you start to remind yourself and kind of elevate your emotions. So if your job is going really well, to talk about that. Because we
Mm-hmm.
say, when the water rises, all boats rise. So if your energy and your positivity and you don't have to be positive all the time. I think that's a fallacy. You can't do it. But if you're trying to just shift your feeling, go around it, and it'll allow you to kind of loosen the grip on where you may be the most stressed out.
Yeah, yeah. And can we bring that back to fertility? So, in terms of beliefs, mind, body, all of that, what are some of the things, you know, like we want to be saying, my body is capable of having a baby, things like that. So, where do they get started in terms of rewiring, but in a way that we actually believe it and it becomes a part of us?
And becomes a part of it. So I think one thing that people get really tripped up on is they think that their body is counteracting what they want it to do, right? I want to be pregnant. I want to have a baby. Why is my body working against me? So it starts with actually realizing that your body is working in your favor when you don't realize it. So I'm going to date myself a little bit with this example, but maybe you can relate. Taxis, nobody uses taxis anymore. They use Uber or they use Lyft. But taxis, how you know a taxi is available is how it has a light on, right? Saying, I'm ready for passengers. If it's not ready, lights off. Your body is very similar into that way. So if you have a situation where you're not stressed out, you're in good health, and your body's like, wow, if I took on a passenger right now, that would be fine, light goes on. Okay. But if we're in a situation, even if it's driven by stress from fertility issues, where your body feels so stressed out, it's like, oh man, I don't want to give Michelle, I don't want to give Jennifer any more stress, light off.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where we think the body's working against us, but in its own perfect blueprint, it's actually saying, I'm not going to give her more stress by adding symptoms of, pregnancy. Why would I do that to Jennifer? Why would I do that to Michelle? We love our body. So I think it starts with first realizing that your body's not working against you. It thinks it's working in your favor.
Yeah. And I think that has the potential to trigger a lot of people, because, you don't want to think that, and I'm not saying that it's our fault. It's just, we need to do work from the beginning, which when we're in the thick of it, we're just like, I just want to get off here. So just give me my damn baby.
Yes.
Whereas I think it's the universe and our body saying, no, 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 you need to do this work. And I look back on my journey and think if I had fallen pregnant straight away, I probably would have, suffered anxiety or all of the different things when I became a mum. Like my journey actually prepared me because there were so many lessons, so many things that I needed to do, and so many corrections that I needed to make in order to be a mum and be the best mum that I could possibly be. So I see all of those things as preparing me. So I think it was actually, yeah, my light wasn't on because I needed to do some inner work, which is not what we want to hear. Absolutely. Because the inner work, I was very much you give me a protocol to follow, give me some injections, some tablets, fine, I'll do it. But asking me how I'm feeling and asking me to dig a little bit deeper into my belief systems, because right underneath, I was actually saying to myself, I don't think this is going to happen. And that was my thing all the way along. So I think that's something that's really, really difficult. So I want to talk a little bit about the book. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit about the book because that led you to where you've been able to develop all of these things. So what's the premise behind it? How did you get there?
To the book, or having the book lead me down my fertility change?
Whatever came first.
Well, I first have to just touch on the fact when you said, I don't know if this is going to happen for me, that belief, then that's not just a belief, that translates into your actions. So maybe if you think it's not really going to happen for me, maybe you stop taking your prenatals, or you don't make it such a regimen, or maybe you don't, have intercourse with your husband as often because you're like, it's not going to happen either way. So just how your belief system can actually really physically change the actions that you take. The book for me came, I started writing in 2016, and it came for me because it was what I needed to learn in order to move forward in my life. And at the time, it was actually relationships in general that were really triggering for me when I started thinking about the book. But you and I have talked about how as women, we think about, as you mentioned, what are all the things I can do? What are the actions I can take? What shots, what pills, what do I need to lay with my legs in the air? Do I need to stand on my head? What do I need to do? And I'll do it. But it was, for me, the book actually taught me, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to step back from?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize how many programs I was running subconsciously, because in my head, I wanted a family. It's time to start. What do I need to add to my life? And through the course of writing the book, I realized there's more sections about what you need to remove from your life than add to your life. So it's kind of a different way of thinking. And a big part of what I had to remove were the limiting beliefs that I had in my head. And I'll tell you what my biggest ones were. My husband and I have always loved to travel the world, and I ran this very strong belief: if we have a child, our world travel stops. And that was a really strong, like, I don't want a baby. I mean, subconsciously in my mind, I'm like, this is great. This is what we want. So that was a big one. The other one was having a child would change our relationship possibly negatively, or I am now in my late 30s. Is this going to be too hard to have a baby at this time? What is that going to do for me physically? I didn't realize how many programs I was running subconsciously that worked completely against getting pregnant, until I started working through my own book for myself, kind of reading it as a third party, saying, okay, what do I need to do for myself? We don't ever want to say that we're doing it to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be
No.
responsible for my own fertility issues. I didn't want to be the reason I didn't have a period for years.
Yes, and that's the thing that really hurts. And and coaching with my clients, they've had breakthroughs where they'll just sit there and they'll just start crying because it's that real. And I've done it myself. It's that realization that you hurt yourself, and you would never treat anyone else as badly as you would treat yourself. And it's heartbreaking, the realization when you realize that you've been self-sabotaging yourself all along, and it's really sad. But it is also something that is so powerful, because once you're aware of it,
Yeah.
then that is where you can actually take action from it. So how did you become aware of these self-limiting beliefs that you had?
So I worked with, I kind of say, even though I am a hypnotherapist and a coach, but brain surgeons don't perform surgery on themselves, I sought a coach,
Mm-hmm.
somebody who could run through the processes I run through with clients with me. And, when you do hypnotherapy, I think there's a very big misconception. Hypnotherapy is not one person controlling another person's actions. That, you see that on stage. That's all a show and that's all for fun and that's just for laughs. Hypnotherapy is really just getting to a really relaxed state of consciousness that allows you to have, communication with your unconscious mind.
So kind of like a meditation, like in a meditative state.
Exactly. In a deep meditative state, it makes you more suggestible to positive affirmations, which is really nice. People say, well, what happens if, somebody wants to tell you something to do something that you're not going to do? That's not how it works at all. Your body's always going to preserve what's going to be in your best interest. So, with hypnotherapy, for me, it was, I went into my past. I know this might sound a little crazy, but I went into my past to a time where I decided that having a child, because I heard it from so many people, well, having a child means your life's over, your lifestyle stops. And I am now realizing it consciously. I hear it all the time, but now I have the belief system that you can believe that, and that's okay for you. But my belief system is having a child does not stop my life. It doesn't, it changes it, but
Yeah.
also, and then we start working through what wonderful ways can it change. You get to see people, if you've already been to Paris 5 times, which I haven't been to Paris ever, but with a child, you get to see it through their eyes for the first time. You get to experience it in a different way. So not just removing the belief, but replacing it also with more positive, powerful, life affirming belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's really important. So can you talk a little bit more about hypnotherapy, perhaps? And what are some of the things that you work with in terms of your clients?
Mhm.
Is it like, I was going to say, is it like planting thoughts? But it's not planting thoughts. It's getting thoughts out, but also rewiring it. So, what are some of the examples of stuff that comes out that you work to rewire?
Oh yeah, that's so good. So first, because I do neurolinguistic programming and hypnotherapy, the first thing that we do is we remove the biggest negative emotions, and those are anger, fear, sadness, hurt, and guilt. I
Wow,
don't care who
that's a
you
lot.
are or how happy you are. Everyone has somewhere in their body anger, fear, sadness, hurt, and guilt. Right? Those
Mhm.
are the big five. And these are actually learned before age 7. So if you look at just child development, the first time you're angry or sad or hurt or guilty or feel fear, it's at a very young age. But the way that we learn it and we then implant it into our body, it's not rational like an adult. I'll give you a good example. My sister, when she was really little, our aunt had a huge dog, big, beautiful golden retriever, got out of the pen. My sister was probably 3, jumped up, landed on her to love her, to lick her, to snuggle with her. But what do you think her response was? This dog's trying to kill me. And then she had a fear response for dogs for years and years and years and couldn't even see them, right?
Mhm.
So we have all of these negative emotions that we like put into our bodies that aren't necessarily doing us any favors, but they're protective in nature. So the first thing I do is remove those. That being said, does that mean you're never going to be angry again? No. It means that you're going to have less of an irrational reaction, like when I get my period, when I'm trying to conceive and I'm angry and I'm hurt and I'm sad, it lessens all of that experience. And then we go into what are the very big limiting beliefs that you have about having a child. So I have someone recently who, what came out when we went into her belief system, and this is all under hypnosis, she had the belief system that I can't have it all. And she has an amazing husband, a beautiful home, a great career. Her health is perfect. She's been trying for 8 months to get pregnant and isn't, because she has a belief system she can't have it all. So she can't fall pregnant because that would mean that her beliefs are wrong.
Mhm.
So working through removing that. belief system. The things that come out we don't know live within us. It's
Absolutely.
crazy.
It is, and it's not until you get to that point where you realize it's absolutely bizarre. And I've had those moments of, it explains a lot, and it's such a great thing to do because it explains why. And on this journey, there are very few moments when people can tell us why. And
Right.
so, it's nice to have that affirmation. So I did interrupt you when you were talking about your book. So do you want to keep going on that in
Well,
terms of the journey that you went on?
I mean, the journey, it's forever changing. I'm writing another book that's very specific to fertility, but I think just in kind of continuing along, what do you do once you have this limiting belief that is now staring you in the face? When you remove it, how do you then add affirmations? So you ask, do I add suggestions? The suggestions are never mine. They have to be the words that the client would use. So what we do is we have them go in a journey into their past, and we have them go 15 minutes further past in the back when that first thought ever existed. And from that perspective, the client always sees a truth that is not only more empowering, but actually more true for them. Because almost always our limiting beliefs, they're not ours. They never stem with us, right? We're not that original. We're not that creative. It comes from an uncle that said, money doesn't grow on trees. Or it comes from an aunt that said, you're not going to be able to get pregnant in your late years. Or it's going to come from a best friend who's jealous and says, well, you can't have it all. You've got all this. You're not going to be able to have it all. And we take it in. So when you move past that and you go before it, the client usually says things like, it's okay to have everything that you want and be a good person. I have the ability to create whatever life I want to live. You know, my body knows exactly how to work with me to fulfill my dreams in a way that is, conducive to everyone around me. So it's never my suggestions. I write them down. And then while they're in hypnosis, then I'm able to do reaffirmations with them using their own words to remind them as they come back through their timeline to say, as they're coming back to clean up all the areas in their life where that belief of I can't have it all has stopped them from going for that promotion, going on that date with that person that was too good to be true, or whatever it may have been, to
Yeah.
reuse their own affirmations to then clean up their timeline and then move
Yeah.
into the future.
And how does it work with fears as well? So, in terms of if you have a fear of falling pregnant again because you had a miscarriage before, if you are fearful of going for your egg pickup because you had a really bad, reaction to the anesthetic before, like how do you, would hypnosis be helpful, or is there something that they can do themselves that can move them through that or past that fear?
Things that they can do themselves is to just get more educated on the different areas that, when it comes to miscarriages, to better understand, what a miscarriage is. So many women, we think when something goes wrong, it's our fault. It is, I had the miscarriage, I lost the baby, it was my fault. But I think it's hard to first get over that. It's so emotional. But if they do the research or start to look into it, I think people, especially in the US, one of the things I'm really trying to work with clients is to understand, first of all, you're not the only person in this. It takes two to tango. There's the sperm, there's the egg, it's a 50-50 split. When something doesn't go all the way, there's a 50% chance it wasn't you, but doesn't put the blame on the other person, but just understanding more of the physiology behind it. And then, yeah, I think a lot of it is just healing the trauma that we do within. And if you do that with a counselor, if you do that with a coach, if you do that with a therapist or a hypnotherapist, you could do it with talking to your best friend. I think the biggest issue we do is we hold it in. It was my miscarriage. I did it. I'm going to hold it in. And I think that's really where celebrities nowadays who are having miscarriages and being very open about it are helping us, at least in the US. It's such a big can of worms right there. Like, I think it starts with just opening up about it. Just,
Yeah.
and self-forgiveness, because you did nothing wrong. Like, that I wish I could scream that from the rooftops. It breaks my heart every time.
Yeah. I mean, and that brings us on to another thing. Like, how do we become kinder to ourselves? How do we allow ourselves some grace? How do we remove the things that are no longer serving us in terms of, take it, as you said before, it's not what you need to add, it's what you need to take off. Like, how do we do that?
I mean, I think this would be an 800-hour conversation, right? How do we do this? I think it starts first with your partner, with working with your partner and just really being able to, he can't shoulder the burden of so much that we go through with fertility. He's not taking the shots, he's not taking the Clomid, he's not doing all the things. But I think really starting with formulating a very strong communication with your partner will start to help you feel like you're not in it so much alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then working, I think, beforehand, before you even start trying to conceive, on confidence, self-esteem, self-love, gratitude, decreasing stress, before you get into a situation where you need it. It's like, if you were to throw me into a boxing ring right now, I would, pinky fall over. But if I have a year to plan out that I'm going to have this fight of my life, I would do so many things to work towards it. And I think that's one mistake that a lot of women make, is we think when it's go time,
Yeah.
versus thinking, what is the year-long journey? We talked about this. If you were to get engaged today, you wouldn't get married tomorrow, would you? You wouldn't expect the flowers to be there and the dress to be there and your guests to be there. No, it's a year-long process. And when it comes to starting a family, so often we think, okay, it's either off or it's on, versus this is a journey that we need to work up to before we even start trying.
And I know that's one of your focuses, isn't it?
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have a program that's designed, or a couple of programs that are designed for before you actually start. When you make the decision, okay, this is a possibility, and this prepares your body for pregnancy. So do you just want to run us through some of the things that
Yeah.
program entails?
So when it comes to, so I created just a little mini course just to give to people, I think it's only about 100 minutes long, with all the paperwork and everything and videos. But what are the areas of your life to focus on before you even start trying to conceive? So one of the biggest things that I think a lot of women don't talk about is the man. It takes about 6 months for a man to have optimal sperm. If he's taking the right supplements, he's decreasing his alcohol use, his caffeine use. If he's using marijuana, in the US, it's legal in a lot of areas. A lot of the things that he's doing, hot tubs, hot showers, think of all the things that can affect 50% of that baby 6 months ahead of time. So part of the program is just telling them, how can a man bring his best DNA to the table?
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing that isn't often talked about, but recurrent miscarriages most often is linked to the DNA of the sperm.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the woman.
Okay.
So, but we don't talk about that, do we? No. Woman had the miscarriage. It's my fault.
Yeah.
So that's
although
part
asking your husband to not drink alcohol, not go into things, and I'm like,
or like,
how do we do that?
Right?
Yeah.
How do you convince them? And it's because we don't talk about it so much. But even if it's just taking I had my husband go on a preconception supplement that had like CoQ10, folic acid, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
That's one big part of it. Another big part of it is, when you fall pregnant, you are then handed a list of all the things you're no longer allowed to eat, to do, or to drink. But imagine, so it's kind of like jumping across the Grand Canyon. You go from doing whatever you want to jumping across this huge cavernous area. So what if you start just tiptoeing your way towards decreasing the things you're going to not use during pregnancy, so that you don't maybe have the caffeine headaches, or maybe you don't miss that brie that you used to have every night for dinner, but you've now picked up a different kind of cheese. That's a terrible example.
And I want to emphasize the fact that you're saying, cut back a little bit. Like, we don't have to go full, otherwise, if it takes quite some time to fall pregnant, we're stripping ourselves of the things that really may give us joy.
Like, indulge like crazy. But if part of your routine is daily to go into a sauna, which you won't be able to do once you have a baby. Find other ways that you really enjoy yourself, just so that it doesn't feel like you're giving anything up. It's another kind of program we run in our subconscious, right? I have to no longer do the things I love. It's not true. You don't have to change your life. I mean, yeah, they say no sushi, but do you think everyone in Japan has never had sushi? Or they say no soft cheeses? You talk to somebody in Paris, like no soft cheeses. Come on. Don't come at me, guys, if you guys have very strong opinions on this. But
Don't touch the soft cheese.
you know, but it's just about how do you take steps to work towards where you want to be, and then there's another component that is communication with your partner. If you don't have amazing communication with your partner before you fall pregnant, and in the US we say before you get pregnant, then it doesn't become easier once you do. Like there's hormones, there's sleepless nights, there's added stress and pressures. There's also added joy and ways of celebrating, working towards all the things you need to do. So I have it broken up for a year out, what you should do a year, not should, but things that you can add to your life and subtract from your life a year out. And then 6 months out, then 3 months out, and then tips and tricks to once it's time to really go for it, how to help with conception.
Yeah. And what are the mindset things that are inside that? Because that's what I'm really interested in, because I think a lot of the times we're like, well, I'll just do all of that work and stuff, when I fall pregnant and then when I have the baby. But it's actually, I can tell you from experience, it's a lot harder once you have that baby to go back and do all of that stuff. So I love the fact of trying to do the work beforehand.
Right. I think a lot of it ends up being the communication that you're having with your body. So when you were actively trying, and we talked about, and when I was actively trying and your period comes, what do you say? Or what do you hear your friends say? They're upset, they're mad, they're getting their period, they're pissed. This is basically somebody showing up to your door with a stop sign being like, nope, it didn't happen what you wanted. And we've all been there and felt that. But what if you change the conversation to, I can't believe this happened to me, that I got my period too. What are the ways that my body is doing this for me? Mm-hmm. So the for me aspect of it, and I know some people are probably like, it's not for me. So hear me out for a second. You had a period, there are women who are still trying to even just get that started. Maybe that period happened because whatever sperm and whatever egg met up was not a fit and would not have been your baby. What if there's a reason behind it that you just don't know about? What if you're not prepared physically to carry that baby to term, that cycle? So really changing the conversation of what's happening to me throughout this process to what are the ways, and sometimes we have to dig deep, especially if we're feeling specifically, a lot of despair that month. What are the ways? There's always at least one that something has happened for you. Maybe you were able to connect with your partner in a way you never had before. Maybe you realize that maybe there's still more work to do. As you mentioned, there's still more steps to take that will end up making you a better mom, a better partner, whatever it may be. But yeah, and especially when it comes to two big things for me, stress and anger are the two big ones. So if those are areas of life, I was dealing with so much stress. Like that was a huge component of me with my thyroid and with my ovulation just being out before. And thank goodness I didn't become pregnant and have a child or a pregnancy during that time. It wouldn't have been good for anybody.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They are the two most common emotions is stress. I don't know whether that's an emotion. I don't think so. But they're the two things, stress and anger. Anger is the thing that really comes up the most. So are there things that they can do to try to work on that? Like what did you do to try to combat the stress and the anger?
Yeah.
Or tackle stress first?
Stress first would be to add meditation and just putting yourself in the present. Stress is always focusing on things behind you and things in front of you. What went wrong in the past and what's not going to go right for me in the future. It's very rarely in the exact moment unless you're in a pressure cooker situation at work. But for me, so meditation, really coming back to the present and adding gratitude. And I think everybody and their mother can say that, yeah, gratitude is a huge component of what we're doing, but also what are the physical and mental stressors around you? And for me, and this is might sound awful, but for me, it was I had to shift the people that I was spending time with, a lot of it. And I'm not saying that I ditched my family and friends completely, but if there were a friend group who would be constantly talking about negative things, constantly complaining, constantly gossiping, this level of energy that was really just bringing me down, I had to first, you do what you can to try and say, listen, I'm focusing on my mental well-being. So I really need to be in a calmer environment. And I love you. And I hope everything with you is great and wonderful in the future. But to manage expectations, I will remove myself from conversations where it's adding unneeded stress to me.
And I think that's important as well in this age because we have social media. So we
Yeah.
have Facebook and Instagram, and I run a course where one of the weeks is about detox and declutter. And detox is about exactly that, looking about who you hang around with and your social media and unfollowing the things that aren't really lifting you up. And if you're just scrolling and you're taking that stuff in, even though you don't think that you are, you're absolutely taking it in. And
Yeah.
it becomes this underlying thing. So we just need to make sure that either we shut off from social media or we make it such a positive experience and we just follow. And it's completely possible to unfollow, via these methods as well. We can
Yeah.
just shut it off. It doesn't have to be. We can control what is actually in our feed. And I think that's a really good concept as well. Not only
Yeah.
can we, like if we've got a feed on Facebook and Instagram, so we can control that, and we need to also control the feed that's coming into our bodies as well.
Yes, and when it comes to controlling the feed in our mind, we can't control every thought that we have, but we can absolutely control the environment around us that is triggering a lot of these thoughts that are happening. And again, it's not about going from I'm having a really negative emotion or a really negative thought to I'm going to have a really positive thought. Because again, you start to trigger that whole BS factor happening in your subconscious, but you can shift it. And, I always tell every client I have is to have a list of 10 things that can pull you out of a rut no matter what. If you've got a cat video on YouTube, if you've got music that you can play, one of the biggest things that when we talk about mind body connection is your physiology changes your inner being and your inner being changes your physiology. So if you're feeling great about the day, your shoulders are back, your sternum is up, your chin is high, you have a smile on your face, your energy is high. If I just got told I didn't get a job that I wanted, my shoulders slouch, my chin goes down, my energy goes down. So you can trick your mind into feeling a different way simply by, I call it the superhero pose. And this has been used with like Tony Robbins and a lot of different mentors. You just stand up straight with your shoulders back and your chest up and your chin up, your hands on like this posture of like, I can take over the world, Superwoman, Captain Marvel, with a smile on your face for 1 minute, and you actually change the chemicals going through your body. Your physiology actually changes your emotions.
I would love to challenge all of the women who are watching this right now to do your Superwoman Captain Marvel pose for a minute. I'm going to do it after this. I can't do it right now.
I do it in the bathroom before a big meeting. I do it like, you know what, ladies, take it to the next crazy level. And before you have sex with your husband, just do the pose in the corner.
I love it.
The pose in the corner too.
This is the thing. I think it's so important as well. We need to get out of our comfort zone. We need to, even if it feels stupid at first. Like I remember because I have a coach as well, and when she said to me, start journaling, I was like, journaling? What? I feel like an idiot. And now look, I don't go anywhere without a journal. But the first thought was, well, that's stupid. What could that do? I feel like an idiot just writing in a piece of paper about how I'm feeling or whatever. But it's something that we just need to try. And I can more than 100, like I can almost guarantee you if you just try doing something a little bit different, no matter how silly it feels, once you do it, like you feel so much better. The ladies that I coach as well, they're just kind of like, oh my God, it's just changed my life.
And
Those
it's little
things.
things. It's not huge things. I think people think that you need to go from 0 to 60, but I tell people, listen, if you are exactly where you do not want to be and you want to be over here, if you move 1 degree a day, in 6 months time, 180 degrees, you are exactly where you want to be. But it's 1 degree, it's tiny shifts. So just to go through that whole exercise, when you're standing up, and you can do it in your seat, but stand up, plant your feet firm on the ground, stand up tall, straight, put your arms, behind you like a pigeon. I can't really move in this position. And put a huge smile on your face. A huge smile on your face for 1 minute. And
Just thinking about it is bringing a smile on my face.
Right.
Like,
And I love it. Yes, do it, and then drop in the comments, you did it and it made you feel what. And I swear it really does work, but it's little things. So in this list of 10, what song pumps you up? Does dancing in your kitchen make you happy? Does it smell of, like, essential oils are so huge? Does it smell of bergamot or, whatever, geranium, put a smile on your face? So have your go-to list, and don't wait until you're at the bottom of the barrel where you're sobbing uncontrollably to start some of these things. When I start to feel like my energy is shifting in a way that I know is not going to be conducive to my life. Now, I have two choices, because we always have the choice. I can decide I'm going to let it go all the way down and I'm going to start watching sad videos. I'm going to cry it out, and that's okay too. Or I can decide, you know what? I'm going to put on this song. I'm going to dance in my kitchen, and I'm going to, and I do this all the time, and I'm going to have my hands up to the air, like physically raising my energy, and get it out.
So yeah.
You know,
Oh, I love
we're
everything
gonna have
about
a dance
that.
party. Come to
Oh, I
California.
love it.
We'll
I
do
love
a
it. I
dance
love
party.
it. So, what is, there's so much good stuff in there, Michelle. So, what is the one thing, the one piece of advice you would give to the woman who is consumed, who is really down the bottom and she just cannot see her way out? What's the one piece of advice you would give her?
It's so big. So the half a piece of advice is to go back to what's happening for you and go to the gratitude, like what is going right for you. But I would say, and this is easier said than done, but I would say shift your mind away from focusing on fertility. Just, it's easier said than done, and I realize that that's the case, but look at an area of your life where things are going really well and just dive into it and let yourself swim in it for a while. Give your cortisol a rest, let your hormones kind of decrease. Definitely just allow yourself some peace. And I think one of the biggest pieces of it is we take it all upon ourselves. We are the ones that fall pregnant, we get pregnant, we're the ones carrying the baby, having the baby, breastfeeding the baby if possible. And I would say share this journey with your partner as much as possible. You're not in this alone. Yeah, it's so hard. Like, one piece of advice, it's so hard. And I would just say, take the blame is not on you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not. And then also something that my husband and I did, and this won't work for everyone, but this is what worked for us. It was, we decided to make a list, a roadmap of what we were and weren't not willing to do to start a family. Because I think a lot of times women will come against a roadmap or a barrier, and then it's kind of a moment with, like, well, what's next? And that feels awful to not know what the options are or what we were willing to do. That should be a conversation talking about, part of my course. Have that conversation way in advance. Are you willing to do IUI? Are you willing to do IVF? If so, how many rounds? If so, how many rounds? How many embryos are you willing to implant? If not, are you willing to adopt? If so, what age? I think if you have this conversation ahead of time, even though it's not ideal, for my husband and I, just to get a little personal, we decided at the beginning of our journey that after 18 months, it's a no-go, we were going to adopt. That was our choice. And we weren't going to adopt a baby. We were going to adopt a toddler. And the reason being is his mom was adopted and my dad was adopted, and it just felt like a natural progression. But that in itself took so much pressure off of me. And it made me feel like I'm not going to hit a dead end. If I want a family, it won't maybe look how I wanted it to look, but maybe it'll be even better than I could imagine.
Yeah. Absolutely. So good. So good, Michelle. Now, if people want to get in touch with you outside of this summit, how can they do it? Your website, what have you got going on at the moment?
Yes. So I've put my book, so this is the book here, Inspired Magic. I've put it down to $2.99 for Kindle, which you can do Kindle on your phone, use a Kindle, iPad, whatever, just to make it accessible to anybody if you are looking for something to read to help with mindset. Also for the course, the preparing course, this isn't for everyone. If you have already been on your journey for a while, this course is going to be way too remedial for you. But if you know of someone who is starting their journey or somebody who's thinking about a journey in the future, we can put the link for it. And I've added the code Fertile Minds Summit to give you 50% off. So, and
Wow.
it's like, it's not even an expensive course. It's like a mini course. And then you can always reach out to me at inspiredmagic.com, which is my company and my website. And so, yeah, and my hope is to just put as many resources online free for blogs, as possible, or connect with us on Instagram. I would just love to hear what people are doing to just have more peace.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really what I want to know. Is like, how are you adding more peace to your life?
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. All right, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it, and I will talk to you later.
Yeah, bye.